Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daffy's Roundtable. My guest today is a wildlife advocate, herpetologist, and an incredible storyteller who's been using social media to educate people about the importance of wildlife and conservation. Known as Man of the Forest on Instagram, Kayden Anthony has captivated audiences with his passion for the natural world. In this episode, we talk about his amazing projects, People of the Forest, and The Nature's Eye, and we dive deep into his experiences herping in India, one of the most biodiverse and fascinating places on the planet. But before we do that, allow me to thank Exoterra for sponsoring this podcast and making this episode possible. Exoterra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Also, if you're not already, please make sure you subscribe or follow this podcast wherever you listen to it. It really helps me reach new people and continue to build our awesome community. Okay, without further ado, everybody please help me welcome Kayden, Man of the Forest. Kayden, hello.
Hi, Daffy.
Thank you for joining me. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you, and I think you're gonna have a lot to tell me about some of the cool wildlife in India today. First of all, before we even get into all of that, tell me about Kayden. How did you get started? Where did your love for wildlife and animals come from?
Okay. Before that, I would like to thank you for inviting me here, and it is really nice to reach out to more people. And thank you for that.
Of course, yeah, happy to have you. It's a pleasure.
So, how did I join wildlife? It's a very weird thing. So, wildlife is not a subject that most students in India prefer, and it's not a topic that I guess anyone, almost all of my friends, none of them have taken the subject. But my parents did something as a kid. They would remove the cartoon channels whenever the school year started. So the
Okay.
only thing left for me to watch was channels like National Geographic and Discovery, Animal Planet, and those wildlife sort of channels in which they showed the wildlife documentaries. That sort of helped me develop an interest in this field, and I think yeah, that was the moment that I
The main catalyst. Yeah.
yeah the catalyst, right? So yeah,
Awesome.
I was a
Yeah.
big fan of Steve Irwin from Australia.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, he
Yes. I
was
think most of
probably
us
like
reptile keepers definitely are.
definitely yeah. So yeah, that's how I started researching about the career options in India specifically. How can you take up a career in wildlife? And I pursued this field.
Awesome. So, what did you need to study to pursue a career in wildlife?
So I have done my bachelor's in zoology and I've done my master's in wildlife biology. And yeah, after that I thought of doing my PhD, but haven't given it a thought. Haven't
Yeah,
tried, haven't
yeah.
pursued it yet. So yeah,
There's always time for that. There's always time for that. So now,
hopefully.
as a career, um, what do you do? I know we spoke briefly before we started recording, and you mentioned a few different outlets that you're working with. Are those? Is this what you do full time?
No, not really.
Okay, so these are kind of like just not a hobby, a side business that you because you spread the word about wildlife.
Yeah, something like that. But I wouldn't call it a hobby as such. It is more than a hobby. It's something I want to pursue in future. Like I look forward to it. But as of now, yeah, I have a 9 to 5 job, which is in wildlife, and yeah.
Sorry, it is in
So it is,
wildlife.
yeah. So my current job, it is like a 9 to 5 office job, but it's in social media. So I work in social media in promoting wildlife, basically.
Very cool. And is that through People of the Forest, or is it a
No.
different
That
company?
people of the forest and nature's eye are specifically my personal initiatives, and we have a team like in people of the forest. There's Sandra and a few interns. In the nature's eye, there's another team.
Cool. So
So those are
why don't
those are.
we? Yeah, but before we get into People of the Forest and Nature's Eye, let's talk a little bit about wildlife in India. Is there a specific? Where are you guys located? First of all.
Fortunately for us, we are from Mumbai. It is a mega city, so we have a lot of opportunities here when it comes to education, when it comes to jobs. So
What
yeah.
about when it comes to wildlife in general? Is it easy to go out and find wildlife or reptiles in Mumbai? or do you have to go further
Surprise.
out from the cities?
Yeah, surprisingly, yes, it is. So I still live in the outskirts. So Sandra lives in like the main, within the like within the city. So
Yeah,
there's a national park called the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, which is inside the city. Like it is literally situated inside the city.
and
And
is this protected by
yeah,
the
it is a,
Indian government? Yeah,
yes, it is. It has a, it is a forest. Like it's a protected forest.
very cool, very cool. And there's some cool snake species there.
Oh, a lot. If you ever get the
Okay,
chance to come to India, you should definitely see the bamboo pit viper.
bamboo pit viper.
Yeah, it's very easy
Awesome.
to
Yeah,
find. Yeah, and apart from that,
it.
so yeah, because this is in within the city, a lot of leopards enter the city.
Wow,
There are
wow.
barely any human attacks. There were some attacks on people, but now there aren't any. But yeah, they pick up a lot of dogs from the city.
The leopards pick up the dogs.
Yeah, they pick up the dogs.
Wow, we have coyotes in my area, and at night there's always like these posts on Facebook or whatever. It's like put your small dogs away because they'll come and pick them up. But I don't know if I actually have heard of a situation where somebody's pet was picked up. So that's incredible, or not incredible. I mean, it's very sad for the dogs, but it's fascinating to hear that these leopards are
Uh,
coming in, picking up these dogs, and getting out.
these are not specifically pet dogs; these are stray dogs. So here, people do take care of stray dogs, not as pets, but so the common folk here, they feed them and they try to take care of them. It's
Right.
not a very it's not very prevalent, but yeah, the dogs that are picked up are not usually pets; they're strays.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. And then so could you maybe you mentioned the bamboo pit viper. Could you maybe mention some of the other, fascinating reptile species that you see in your area?
Oh yeah, there are a ton of them. So India
Yeah.
totally has a, yeah, in total India has about 315, more than 315 snake species, and starting with the tiniest, the Brahmini blind snake, or the blind snakes. These are extremely small. They're oftenly mistaken for earthworms. Like
Earthworms,
that
that's how
tiny.
small they are. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, straight up to the longest snake in the world, the reticulated python. All of these snakes are found here. The big four are the most common. The big four venomous snakes: the common krait, the spectacled cobra, the saw-scaled viper, and the Russell's viper. These
Wow.
are commonly found all across India, and all of them are highly toxic. And the venom can most definitely kill a person. There are a lot of deaths because of them. The reason why we have such a good snake population here is because we have about we have multiple biodiversity hotspots. We have the Western Ghats, we have the Himalayas, we have the Andaman Islands, and a lot of these hotspots which have a lot of endemic wildlife that's nowhere else in the world.
You mentioned there's a lot of venomous species there. Are these protected by the government? And also
Yes.
on the other side, what are people's opinions on them?
So on paper, every animal is protected in India, apart from the ones that are considered as vermin, like pests, basically rats. Rats are animals that are not protected, and a few animals that destroy crops may not be protected. But the wildlife is protected. India has one of the strictest wildlife laws in the world. On paper, you're not allowed to even touch an animal. So we have this. So we were discussing about this a case today where a celebrity from India has he had a lot of cases against him, okay, and was acquitted from all of those cases because of
Because
the monetary power that he has.
the
But
celebrity, yeah.
yeah, can I name him?
If you want to, sure, yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Salman Khan. So he had a
Yeah.
hit and run case. Yeah. So he had a hit and run case that in which people died. But he got acquitted from that. But there is also a case where he hunted a black buck or a deer, which is also a protected species. That he is unable to get himself rid of that case. He's charged with that. But all of the cases acquitted.
So
That's
that's how
how
strict
it.
they are about
Yeah,
protecting the wildlife.
yeah. But on the other hand, it is also very lenient in some cases because there are a lot of animals that are protected, but they do not really get, like, there is a bird called the the Alexandrian parakeet or the Indian star tortoise. These animals on paper are protected but are openly sold in markets. If you're caught with them, if the authorities decide that they want to do something about it, in that case, okay, can we cuss on this? Can,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, if the authorities decide they want to do something about it, you're fucked. But if they do not, if they, if they're okay with it, you can have these animals at your house and display, and you can do anything and no one will care.
Right,
It's
right.
basically
That
if the
makes sense.
authorities want to, they can. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the Indian star tortoise because I actually do want to ask you about that. But okay, so the wildlife is protected. What are the general people's opinions on it? People over there like the snakes. I assume living with so many venomous snakes around, it can tend to be a little scary for people that aren't familiar with
Hmm.
snakes.
So, most of, not most of it, but a lot of the urban population, like even from where I come from, we do not come in touch with snakes a lot, the venomous ones. But if you go to the rural side, they do uh, they do have to interact with snakes a lot because there are snake bite cases and the snakes enter their house. So the general perception of the common public isn't positive because, well, the first thing is it'll bite me. But you see,
Yeah,
culturally, okay, India has been a very eco-friendly society. It sounds a little counterintuitive, but so I'm not a Hindu. Like my family is Catholic, and
okay.
I follow wildlife. But so in the Hindu tradition, they sort of how do I put it? There's a lot of appreciation for nature. That's the right word. There's a lot
Right.
of appreciation for nature. So the general mindset is to not harm, but then again, the this whole venomous aspect of snakes may get a lot of people to kill them. But now I guess with time people are changing, and there are a lot of rescue organizations that rescue these snakes. There's another big story of problems with the rescue organization itself, but I think for now they are doing good.
Cool. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons yourself and Sandra decided to start People of the Forest, right? Is to kind of educate people against harming and killing the snakes.
Um, Actually, not really.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So
there
yeah.
are
So tell us that story. Yeah.
so what you said is partially right. Like we want to educate people. The thing is, in India, if you ask anyone to name a snake, they will not name the bamboo pit viper or the Russell's viper. They won't even name the common snakes. Okay, the first snake they think of is the anaconda. Second snake they think
Right.
of is the black mamba. So these are snakes that are popular in media. The piranha movie, the whole thing about the cheetah and the lion. So animals that are not in India are popular. So yeah, so the whole media perception, no, not the media perception, but the whole people will name animals that are not in India. That so people do not know what's in their backyard, but they'll know an animal that is like million miles, no, sorry, thousands of miles away.
So your aim was to kind of educate people on species that you actually have inside of India.
Yeah, that are relevant to you.
Right. And you're doing this through your organization, People of the Forest.
Sort of people of the forest. Yes, and through my Instagram.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about what you do through People of the Forest and your Instagram.
So my I'll start with the Instagram thing first. Instagram because that's like easier to explain.
Yeah.
My Instagram is just an educational platform. We just find something about the Indian wildlife, a concept or a species. Like we made a video on roadkills using the sand boa. It is a tiny. It is this short and stout snake. It's like really thick. It's and it's short. It won't grow more than like 4 feet, and they often get roadkilled a lot because they are slow moving snakes. Things like these that are overlooked, okay, and they get killed because they're mistaken for Russell's viper. They look a lot alike. Uh, so once the Instagram thing took off, we sort of started this thing called People of the Forest, which is a more streamlined, a more how I can't get the right word. People of the Forest, I'll say, is a more organized way to educate people. We have offline events where we take people to the forest and we teach them about it, educate, and in the form of puzzles. We create puzzles and games where people come, they try to solve it, and they learn about the forest.
Very cool.
Yeah, all of that using Indian wildlife, and all of that is a part of the Nature's Eye, which was the organization
Yeah. So
where I.
what is Nature's Eye?
Yeah. So I think in 2021, amidst the COVID pandemic, we started an online platform to teach people about wildlife. So, but the Nature's Eye is not to teach people about wildlife. The Nature's Eye is to teach people who are already in wildlife about it. For example, if a student who's already in wildlife wants to learn more about reptiles, we organize courses in herpetology. Or if there is a birding expert who wants to educate more students about birds, we organize a course through them about on ornithology. Or if it's softwares like QGIS or SPSS and Python, AI, all of that. So we organize these sort of courses where we connect field experts to students.
Right. So I can break it down. So people of the forest, you're teaching the general public about wildlife, whereas on Nature's Eye side, you are teaching people that are within the field, or I guess maybe not teaching, helping people within the field increase their skill set.
That is actually a nice way to put it. I never thought about that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
There
So
you go. You can start
one
using
major
that.
difference. Yeah, so it's mostly skill building. The Nature Eye is mostly skill building for individuals in wildlife, and it is online. It only exists online. People of the Forest is a more
Okay.
offline, like in person thing.
Yeah. So you said for with people of the forest, you're taking people out into the forest. You're playing all these puzzles and games to kind of teach them more about wildlife.
Hmm.
What if somebody from outside of India wanted to come, fly to India, learn a little bit more about the wildlife, check out the wildlife, see some more reptiles, stuff like that? Hint, hint. Is this something you do? Do you offer almost like excursions for people to go out to go out to see the reptiles?
So we do organize customized trips, but as of now, we haven't dealt with anyone who's not from India. But
Right.
we're open to
We
the
can change
idea.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Cool.
what?
Very cool.
Sari, if you ever come to India, do contact me. I'll show you around.
That sounds awesome. I definitely will, and I definitely want to check out India. I know you guys have a crazy variety of species over there that I would love to see. Um, are there specific seasons or weather conditions that make reptiles, like finding reptiles in India, easier?
Yes, yes, there is. There is. We call it the herping season because all
Yes,
herpers are active before that. It's the monsoons. So
it's the monsoons.
yeah, between June to August, September, between June to September is like, since India is a tropical country, we receive our rainfall from June to September, and the monsoon biodiversity is crazy. So I used to do this thing where I would just take my bike and drive. So there's a reserve forest where I live. It's quite near, and I would just drive. I wouldn't even enter the forest. Just drive on the road, and I would make a checklist. I found um, I don't know, about 100 or 200 species. From them, around 50 snakes, not 50, I think 20 to 30 snake species, insects, sometimes even birds at night on the road. They'll just come
Wow.
and sit there. There's a
Yeah,
lot of wildlife. You like monsoon is one of the best periods to explore wildlife, specifically
that's fascinating.
reptiles.
Yeah, in the U.S. and America, they do something called, we can't do it here in Canada. I mean, maybe in certain areas, but where I live in Canada, there's not enough reptiles to do this. But in the U.S., they do something called road cruising. So they'll do the same thing you're talking
Ah,
about, but they just drive down. a road where they know that reptiles are probably on both sides, and things just pop up on the road in front of them, and that sounds like a lot of fun. So doing it on a bicycle, you're at a bit of a slower pace, and you could probably see
Um,
things even better, right? That's very cool.
yeah,
It's
no, no,
very
so
cool.
sorry. It's not a bicycle as such. Sorry. So in India, when we say bike, we mean a motorcycle. It's
Oh, motorcycle. Okay, cool. Well, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, that's very cool. Very, very cool. So, have you? I know you talked about there's 300 something species, all that cool stuff. Have you discovered something that's a little bit rarer that you don't see, or are things generally super common?
Oh no, there are rare things. So we call here. I don't know what's the correct what. It's not an official term, but we call them lifers here.
Lifers. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
oh, you guys have the term too.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So there are lifer species. So see. So the thing is, India is a very it's a very varied landscape. Where I live, I will never see a king cobra if I don't move out of this place. Okay, I live near
Right.
Mumbai. Mumbai does not have king cobras. For me, a king cobra is a lifer. But if I go to the south of India, I'll find a king cobra. And then there are we also have a species of we have coral snakes. We have a few species of coral snakes which are different from the ones that you have back there in
Cool.
the whole American continent. You guys have coral snakes, right?
Yeah, further south, not up here in Canada. But yes,
Yeah,
I believe there are some in the U.S. Yes.
yeah. So they're different from the ones that you guys have, but they are also elapids. But yeah, finding a coral snake in the wild is crazy because they're not very rare, but they're tiny and they're always hidden.
Right. Right. And
Uh,
is there something that you do while you're out there herping, to increase your chances? Do you go to specific areas that they exist in? Do you have any like tips and tricks, let's call them, for making finding the reptiles easier when you're out there?
yes, we have our tips and tricks. So,
Awesome.
usually it's a group. If it's a small group of maybe let's say 5 people, everyone chooses a different patch. The one in the front will look down for ground snakes or for ground dwelling snakes. Not just snakes, scorpions and all of that. We have a snake called the shield tail, which is a really beautiful iridescent snake. So the one in the front will look down. The one at the sides will look on either side. They will look for tree snakes, arboreal snakes. The ones at the back will basically try to look everywhere or not miss anything. And if we have an extra person, like if it's like 5 people, one person will look for mammals on the trees. Like we have a civet cat, we have certain mammals that are active at night and they're on trees. Like we have the slender loris and the civet cat and some squirrels. So squirrels, not so much. They're not as popular. Sorry, not popular. They are not as abundant.
Calm. Yeah.
It's the flying squirrel, basically.
Cool.
Yeah, these are all nocturnal mammals that are super hard to find. So herpers usually, if you see a arboreal mammal at night, it is a lifer.
That's cool. So does that mean you go out mostly at night?
In the monsoons, yes. In the winters, it's mostly for birds. In the summers, it's for mammals.
Very cool. Very
Every
cool.
season is for a different animal, different group, I would say.
Which means anytime you go to India, you're likely to find something cool then.
Uh, so, no, not really, honestly. So mammal sightings are difficult. Mammal
Sorry,
sightings are
mammals?
like super rare. Yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah, mammal sightings are difficult. If you go on a safari, you will see mammals, but on a hopping trail, usually mammals are super rare.
Cool. And when you're talking about mammals, they're the ones you just mentioned.
There are a lot of them, but finding them is difficult.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then so just jumping back to people of the forest and sort of teaching people about um snakes. Is there any methods that you use to reduce or like to teach people to not be as scared, to kind of learn to love these species?
Um. So there's a small issue with this because the people that want to come to these events are basically people who are already not scared of them, who already want to learn about them. So
Right.
so
So
yeah,
how do you start getting people that are scared of them to come on these trips then?
we haven't yet found a way to get them on trips, but
No.
so we had this incident where this young couple joined us on our trip, and these guys. So the wife did not know that we are going through, uh, we are going for a herping trip, and so one is through Instagram. People find see the idea of walking through a forest at night is sort of scary because yeah, in India it is scary to walk in the jungle at night. We have a lot of animals that can actually kill you. So a lot of people are fascinated by that and they do join our trips. So there's a gradual exposure to these animals. A lot of people start the trail and are scared of these animals. Like they start the trail and they don't even want to go near a snake, which is recommended, by the way. In India, you do not want to go near a snake because
Of course.
yeah. But by the end of the trail, they are at least able to tolerate its presence. We have had instances where people have seen have seen our videos and on Instagram, and they have joined us on the trail. And once they have been with us, they're like, okay, it's not as scary, but okay, it's not that frequent where people who are not scared come on trail with us.
That makes sense. So in terms of conservation, are you guys as people of the forest involved in conservation? Is there conservation projects for, I mean, all animals, but specifically reptiles happening in India?
So, not through people of the forest, but I originally worked for, and even Sandra, actually, we both work for different organizations. I used to work for Indian Snakes, where we would read scientific papers and break down, like, sort of simplify it for the common public, where we would write it, because not everyone wants to read a scientific paper.
For sure.
Yeah, so we would sort of, you can still check out the website, it's pretty useful. It's called indiansnakes.org, and so there are a lot of conservation projects. We do not work in any specific project, we basically work in education.
Okay, very cool. And then so you mentioned the Indian star tortoise before. Um, we have those here, obviously not in the wild,
Yeah,
but as pets,
yeah.
people are keeping them. Is are how do I phrase this question? Is the is there is it legal to export Indian species outside of India,
No,
or
it's not.
would those
It's
have
not.
been smuggled?
Yeah, all of them almost, see, the ones previously sent there, which are probably being bred there now, are not. But yeah, a lot of it happens illegally. You can't, you're not allowed to touch an Indian
To
animal.
export?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
No,
And
export is like, export is significantly riskier, or like high, super illegal.
okay,
But yeah, you're not allowed to touch any animal.
fascinating, fascinating. Um, what about the pet trade? Are people keeping reptiles as pets in India? Does that exist over there?
It does. So the communities, the people who keep reptiles are not a big bunch. They are a relatively small bunch. But yeah, so one of the most popular snakes in India, I think, is the ball python. A lot
Okay,
of people keep ball pythons,
I
and
was gonna ask you this. Okay,
yeah, and the corn snake.
okay, cool.
But
So then, no, sorry, go ahead.
no, but again, so even in that, there's like a distinction. There are some people who get it legally, but not everything is legal. In fact, in one of my videos, I covered a case where very near where I live, there was a big smuggling thing caught, where this guy had kept a lot of snakes, which are legal, but he acquired them illegally, and an orangutan, like a baby orangutan.
Wow, that's sad. Okay, so yeah, so then that was my question that I was gonna ask you. So it's illegal to export and it's illegal to import as well. Like
Yeah,
you can't bring in species from outside and keep them as pets. Then
yeah, yeah. You're not allowed to do that.
okay.
Wait, sorry. What did you ask?
So we mentioned earlier that exporting is illegal. You can't export any
Yeah,
Indian species. But what about
yeah.
importing them? Is there a legal way to import Indian or species from outside into India?
Some of it is legal. So
So,
that,
like
yeah.
somebody bringing in some ball pythons, for example, that is legal.
Right now, I'm not sure if it is legal, like right now, because there's a whole problem of invasive species cropping up. But yeah, a lot of exotic pet trade is legal in India.
Interesting. And you mentioned there's a lot of invasive species. Is that, do people think that that primarily, or not primarily, but does that have something to do with the pet trade? If people releasing pets?
Yes, yes, that is such a frustrating problem here.
Right.
That is something that uh, a lot of us have been. It's frustrating, because we work in conservation. We try to tell people, "You do not release your pets outside," but then they go and so there's this. I think you must you do you know the red ear slider? You probably do.
The red-eared slider,
The,
of course. Yes, yes.
yeah. So
They're invasive here too.
oh, really? I don't know that.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and probably everywhere else in the world. They're, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So that's an issue you guys have then. People releasing their pets, red-eared slider pets.
Yes. Not just radio sliders. Actually, even plants. There are a lot of plants that are not native that have been planted here now. They fucked up the ecosystem. Then there
Wow.
are yeah. It's not just a radio slider. I can't think of any other examples right now, but
No,
yeah. There's
that's
oh
okay.
right,
So,
the African catfish is another fish. So
and
people
people are
keep them
just
in fish.
releasing them into ponds.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the pleco catfish. People keep them as pets. Once they grow up, they're like, we can't keep them anymore. Let's set them free, and then yeah,
And I assume that the native habitat in India is probably good enough for them to reproduce and breed, and so that's why they're causing a problem.
yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fascinating. You guys have a lot of cool stuff happening over in India. It's always interesting talking to somebody
Yes.
from, another place and seeing kind of how the differences are. So maybe we'll quickly jump back to people of the forest once again, because I wanted to ask a few questions about that. Through taking people out and through the courses on the wild side, do you feel like there is a potential future where the people start to fear the animals less?
Yes, I do think that when you expose them and you educate, like, so, it's like a, how do I put it? It's like a counter to the current scenario. A lot of social media pages, a lot of media, a lot of mainstream news channels also do not always show snakes in positive light, which is very
Of
bad.
course.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's this video of a pit bull mauling a snake to death, which is a rat snake, and a very popular media channel, which is like a mainstream media channel, um, called the snake a king cobra or a cobra. I
Wow.
think I don't remember what, but the snake was a non-venomous rat snake,
Yeah.
and so the headline was sort of okay, hero dog saves children from a venomous king cobra.
Yeah.
That was a rat snake. So yeah, I think when people like us who are actually wildlife biologists and who have worked in the field start teaching people about this, again, people of the forest is sort of a small initiative. We need more people to come forward and take up such initiatives where they come forward and educate people. We are doing as much as we can, um, but yeah, we need people to actually come forward and do this.
Yeah. That's why I reached out, actually, because I did see your Instagram page. I did see people of the forest Instagram page, and I know that I everywhere in the world, I'm sure there's media channels that are painting negative reptiles in a negative light, and you do a very good job at, even down to the tiny spiders, you make them look like incredible species that people should love and should protect. So that's
Thank
why
you
I
so
keep
much.
jumping back to it as well, because do want to highlight that portion of what you do, because I think it's very important. um, Jumping back once again, you mentioned earlier on in the episode that you guys have some 300 something species of snakes. Am I right?
Yeah.
What percentage of them are actually venomous? Is it because there's probably a large percentage of them that aren't, right?
So out of the 300 snakes, the one, okay, now when I say venomous, there are also different categories. There's one
Right.
that is venomous but not harmful to humans, like the rear fanged snakes.
Right.
And
What
there's
could you
another,
name a few of the rear fang species that you guys have over there?
we have the cat snake, almost all species of cat snakes, all species of vine snakes, and yeah, these two encompass a lot of species. Cat snakes and vine
Right.
snakes are very big genuses,
Yeah.
genera, genera,
Yeah.
not
And is
genus.
that what is the genus for the cat snakes? Just
Boiga,
want to make sure.
Boiga.
Boyga. Okay. Yeah. 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 I thought so. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Okay. Cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So you guys have those in that area as well.
oh yeah, a lot. Yeah, where I live, we have cat snakes here and vine snakes.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, I was back to the classification. So
Yeah.
yeah, these are snakes that are venomous, but they won't do any harm to you. Like even the bite is won't even it hurts, but there's no effect. Then comes the venomous snakes that are actually dangerous to humans, like the big four that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Among the big four, these the big four are found throughout the country, and they are found in good numbers. Then come the snakes that are venomous, that can kill you, but you will never come in contact with them, like the hump-nosed pit viper. Or a lot of the pit vipers that we have in India are pit vipers that are found in forests, and uh, you'll never come across them. And even
Yeah.
another group of snakes, yeah, there's another group of snakes, the sea snakes, hydrophis, and all of them, which are far off in the sea. The most venomous group, but you'll never come in contact with them. And
Right.
but again, all of them still are just like around I think less than 10%. Yeah, around
Oh,
10 to 20% of snakes are venomous, but are venomous and dangerous to humans. Most of which are also not found inside. Most of which also don't come in contact with humans. But yeah,
yeah.
a majority of the snakes are harmless.
Right. So, and then when you mentioned some of the ones that you never see, not the sea snake, but something like the I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it. The hump nose viper, I think you call it, or something.
Hump nose pit viper.
Hump nose pit viper. Are those? Are you just not seeing them because they're further out, or are they just very good at hiding?
Oh no, they are they are not. They are found in very they need very
Niche
specific
areas.
habitats.
Right.
Yeah, they need specific habitats and they need a specific altitude. You won't find them everywhere. They are found in specific areas in the Western Ghats, and
Very
yeah,
cool.
they don't come in contact with humans.
Okay.
They live deep inside the forests.
Very cool. So maybe we'll talk about pit vipers for a couple of minutes. Do you guys have a lot of different species of pit vipers over there?
We have we have a lot of pit vipers here. The bamboo pit viper, the Malabar pit viper, okay, the large scale pit viper. We have the Pope's pit. We have a lot of pit vipers here. So a lot of the pit vipers we have, you may also find in areas like Indonesia, Thailand, okay, the Philippines, all of these areas as well.
So there's a lot of crossover in species within the surrounding countries then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And are they all
So,
super secluded, or do you see some species of pit vipers like closer to the cities in Mumbai around?
as I said, the bamboo pit viper, I named that because like if you come to Mumbai, that is one thing that is fairly easily sighted. Again, it's the bite is medically significant, but may or may not be fatal. You may not die with the bite. But
And then,
yeah, so yeah,
sorry, I was just gonna ask about because you mentioned medically significant bites, and we've been talking about venomous snakes for a little bit. But what's the response like? Do you guys have a good system set up for anti-venom? Like what is it, how does it work there? Let's say I got bit. What's the system like there for dealing with
uh,
venomous snake bites?
you rush to a government hospital. That is the most important thing. Government
Right.
hospitals. It's mandatory for government hospitals to keep anti venom. And yeah, again, reaching the government hospital is up to you. You need to reach the government hospital for that. If
Right.
you're lucky enough to find an ambulance, that's good. But yeah, and now we have a broad spectrum antivenom that helps treat multiple bites. I myself have been bitten not by a snake but by a scorpion, the Indian red scorpion. Again, bite is medically significant, but you may not die with the bite. The first thing
Right.
I did was rush to the hospital,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I have the bite was on my on this finger, the index finger, and they held it, and inside the bite, like where the dot was, they poked a needle there, like that was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think the
And
scorpion bite was better, less painful.
does it hurt a lot?
Oh yeah, it did hurt a lot.
Is there a lot of different types of venomous scorpions in India as well?
Uh, Again, not fatal, but medically significant bites.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. Is there a species there, whether it's snake or scorpion or anything like that? That I love how this has just turned into a venomous species talk now. Is there a specific species, whether it's snake or scorpion, that you guys do not have an anti venom for?
Uh, no, not really. Sea snakes, the sea snakes that are found here may not have an antivenom, but yeah, apart from that, there is antivenom for almost all other snakes.
Okay.
There are not a
So
lot of venomous snakes.
as long as somebody makes it to a government hospital, then they should be in theory okay.
Yeah, in theory. But there are other factors,
In
like
theory,
yeah,
of just gonna think things that slow you down, all of that. Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And okay, very very cool. Is there something that you wanted to kind of highlight about the wildlife in India?
Oh yeah. So the thing about Indian wildlife is that it is not. I can't define it in one word because I live in a dry deciduous forest sort of area. The forest where I live is a dry deciduous forest. If I go, if I travel about, I say 20 kilometers south, I'll reach a evergreen forest, and the landscapes change drastically here. Yeah, we have almost
There's a
every
lot of
type
different
of.
types of landscapes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure of how many, but I think we have about around 4 to 5 hotspots that overlap in India. A few of them are completely situated in India, like the Western Ghats is completely in India. The Himalayas, a major part of the Himalayas is in India. Then the Trans Himalayas, and then we have the northeast of India, which is a different type of evergreen forest. So yeah, so I don't think there's a lot of. I don't think as a person who has barely explored anything, even I say I haven't explored enough. There is so much more
Right.
to explore here.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
there's always going to be something new to find, always going to be something
Yeah,
new to see. That's
right.
fascinating. Yeah. Would you recommend people come to go herping in India?
If you go through through ethical group, I would say definitely there's a lot to explore here. Um, and I think people do come here. Like
Yeah.
it's
No, for
not
sure they do.
very. Yeah, but so I'm not sure how popular is it, but a lot of people do come to India for hopping, and it's hmm. The dilemma here is finding the right group. If you do not find the right, if you may very well reach to an unethical group, um, which which can land you in trouble because trouble as in see, as I said, the laws here are very strict.
Right.
As long as the authorities are okay with you, you can do anything and no one will question you. But there's always this one. Every day is not a Sunday. Like this is one day where you touch an
Yeah.
animal, a photo is clicked, and the officials see it. If that
Right.
happens, yeah, then you're caught.
Yeah. So they're
So
fairly
yeah,
strict about that.
yeah, they're very strict about that if they want to be.
Yeah. So make sure you're going with the right group, people. That's of
Yeah, it's
course. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That is yeah. That is a major concern. Like, make sure you go with the right people, and I would say ethical people, basically.
Is it possible to do multiple of those hot spots in one trip, or is it take a long time to go through each one of those areas you mentioned?
No, not really. So so wait. Depends on. Okay, can you give me a time frame? Like, let's say, how much time would you?
Like in a 2 week time frame.
It would be very hectic, but you you can do a few different types of habitats. Like in a 2 week, I think you can do Western Ghats and 2 week time frame now.
What's
Actually,
your favorite
so
habitat?
oh, Western Ghats. I live the it's. by far my the most favorite. See, I come from a reptile background, so
Yeah,
yeah, the Western Ghats are my all time favorite.
and that's where you'd find probably the most diversity of reptiles. Then
No, second best. First is the northeast
what's
of
the
India.
best?
Northeast
Northeast of
of
India.
India.
Okay,
The problem with the northeast of India is it is sort of secluded and it's a little cut off. So there is not a lot of herping infrastructure there. So
right,
yeah, you need the right kind of people to get get you in touch there.
right. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
And
Western
so
Ghats, yeah, sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Yeah, the West. Yeah,
Yeah, so the Western Ghats have a lot of people, like especially southern India. A lot of people are interested in herping. So the infrastructure has been, gradually they build the infrastructure for that.
yeah. And by infrastructure, you mean the right kind of people to take you out, or do you mean the actual like
You know, like
habitat?
properties where you can stay. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
there's a lot
Oh,
of
so
habitat conservation as well.
right. So in the Northeast, there's just not enough. It's kind of there's not enough like I don't know how to phrase it like human life. I guess it's
Uh,
more barren.
yeah, it's not barren as such, but how would I put it? So there is it's mostly a rural sort of setup, and even in the rural there are a lot of tribal people. So not the bad kind of tribals, but yeah, there are many tribes there, and all of them are not they don't there's not a very big tourism setup there. It is great. The
Right.
place is amazing. It's one of the best places to visit in the country. But
Okay.
yeah, so it is difficult. But I would say, as far as reptiles, that or any animal, that the northeast is one of the best areas in the world.
That's very cool. Very very cool. After talking about all these awesome species in India, and I know I already asked you this earlier in the episode, but would you recommend people come to go herping in India?
Yes, I would because there is at least especially in the south of India, south and some parts of Mumbai and Maharashtra, there is a lot to explore. And I think in Goa, so ha, Goa has a very big tourist market here for the beach and the booze. But
Okay,
Goa
cool.
also has a Goa also has a very big reptile. It's a very diverse forest when it comes to Goa has very diverse forests,
So if I
and a
want to
lot of
go,
people.
sorry, so if I want to go find reptiles and party, then I need to go to Goa.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, so the
Cool.
coastal, you go to the coast, to the west of Goa is parties, to the east is wildlife.
Okay, and what kind of wildlife do you see in Goa?
Everything from the Indian bison, the gaur, to the smallest snake. So last time we were in Goa, we found a species snake that is probably new to science. So no, we
Really?
couldn't find any. Yeah,
Do you
it's
want to
a
tell me a
very
little bit about
small.
that?
Oh yeah, I should have said that earlier in the podcast,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Tell me about this. Yeah. How did you know? How where did you find it? What was the habitat like? How did you know that it's something new to science? Yeah, please talk about this. That's very
Yeah.
very cool.
So in India, the wildlife community is not very big. Right now, it is growing, so everyone is connected to each other. So all of us have these WhatsApp groups where we interact with each other regularly. So we were hopping in the forest at Tilari, and Tilari is this place near Goa. So
Okay.
I found this snake, a worm snake, which is very weird. It had a white head. Worm snakes in India don't have that white head. So I clicked a photo, sent it to the group. It looked like a worm snake that is found in Shanghai, and that is weird because it like how would it reach from there to here? Like there's
Yeah.
no it's and like nowhere in the middle. So after that, a few researchers told me that they have found a few records of this species, but it has not been described yet. Like officially, science, no one knows what it is. Genetics and the studies on the snake are still ongoing, and that was something fascinating. That the video is still the if you visit my Instagram, you just DM me. I'll send you the video as well. I've
Please do.
put
I'll
in
pop it
photos
in
and videos.
here. Yeah, I can put it in so people who are just watching the episode can see pictures of it or whatever. Is there a common name for this? And I know you said it isn't described, but is there have you given it a common
No,
name? Is no? Okay, so it's still just a
no, not yet.
undescribed
Oh,
whitehead worm snake.
yeah, but that's the thing. The white-headed worm snake is not is I think not Shanghai. Sorry, Hong Kong. It's found in Hong Kong, but that's a totally different species.
Right.
People in my comments were like naming it after me. Don't do that.
Yeah, why
Don't do
not?
that.
The Caden's
Not
whitehead
yet.
worm snake. There you go.
We need a proper. We need a scientist. We need to name it after a scientist.
Fascinating. Very cool. Yeah. So any other very cool species you could see in the Goa area then, and then we'll wrap it up unless you have anything to ask, but
No, a lot.
we'll wrap it
So
up.
yeah, the slender loris, definitely the slender loris. It's this tiny mammal. It's like it's tiny
I've
primate.
Yeah,
Heard
I've
of
heard
it?
of the slow loris. Is that similar to the slow loris? I'm looking it up right now.
So same genus, different species.
Cool.
Yeah. So the slender loris is this tiny. They move faster than the slow loris, but again, you see them like way up in trees. So yeah, it is like related to the slow loris, but it's not. It is a different species altogether. The only way to see it is you have a torch, you shine it on the tree, and you'll see a dot like shining back.
And that's the eyes?
Yeah, that's the eyes of the snake. So that is how you find mammals at night. If you see like eyes shining back at you, we call it spotting the eye shine.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Kayden, I think that's all the questions I had for you. Is there anything you wanted to add or ask or add, and then we can wrap it up?
Yeah. So in Canada, like, what is the wildlife there? Do you have like the grizzly bear or the polar bears there?
It's very cold. I'll start with that. It's very cold. It's very hard to see wildlife, especially in like urban areas, like where so I live in Ottawa. Very hard to see wildlife here. You know, we have a lot of squirrels, not flying squirrels like you mentioned. We just have a lot of squirrels. We have chipmunks. We have stuff like that. I don't believe we have any grizzly bears. We do have black bears. So you occasionally see them in like if you go to the parks, like further out of the city, you'll see some black bears and stuff like that. But not many, to be honest. And even in terms of snakes, we don't have that many species either. We do have milk snakes. We do have a lot of garter snakes. We only have one. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone, I believe we only have one species of venomous snake here in Ontario, and that's the Maslaga rattlesnake, and that's
Okay.
much
Yeah.
further north than where I live. Um, we have redback salamanders. We have an ambystoma species,
So I
but also very hard to find. Yeah.
sorry for interrupting.
No,
Are
no,
you
go ahead.
allowed
Yeah.
to? So in Canada, are you allowed to like touch these animals or keep them as pets?
Keep them as pets. No, you're not allowed to take anything from the wild and keep it as a pet. And in fact, even if it's um, captive bred, which I guess it can't really be captive bred because nobody can be keeping them. But if you were to get, say, a milk snake that's not from Ontario, that's native to Ontario, and again, anybody listening, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's just my understanding of how it works. You can't keep it as a pet because it is a native species, so you can't keep anything that's native here. Um, yeah, every
Okay.
all the
And
animals that are repatriated come from outside of the region you're in.
okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
how about Jordan? How is Jordan's
Yeah,
wildlife?
yeah. So I never really lived in Jordan. My family, a lot of my family live there, so I go and
Okay.
visit. I try to see as much as I can when I am there. We have some llama species there. There's a lot of cool scorpions there as well.
Oh
But
yeah. Uh,
there,
Correct me if I'm wrong. So do you guys have
no,
the
yeah.
death stalker scorpion there?
You know what? We can find out together. Let's look it up. I know they exist. I know they come from Egypt. I'm not sure if
Hmm.
they exist in
In Jordan,
Jordan.
right? Because I think that can have like a fatal bite, fatal
Yes, it
sting.
can. Yes. Oh yeah, there's the Jordan Black Death Stalker.
Oh, you guys
So it's
have
from the
that. Wow.
family Buthidae. Yeah. So there is some cool diversity of reptiles in Jordan. it's very or at least I should say in Amman, which is the capital. It's very hard to see these animals because it's been everything's been built on, right? So you have to go further out in the desert. You have to go into the deserts to see them. But they definitely are there, and there's definitely a lot of cool species for sure.
We would love to explore the biodiversity of that area.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe one day we can meet Jordan and go herping together. Because I would also love
Yeah,
to explore the biodiversity of there. I was there not too
yeah,
long
same
ago
here.
actually, and I did try to go out herping, and I only saw the Egyptian rock agama was the only reptile I was able to
Oh,
find, and I tried to go near it, and the second I got near it, it just immediately disappeared. And I assume in that entire region there's a lot of crossover of the species. So there's probably some some sand boas in the area. There's probably some stuff like that, but I haven't been able to find anything.
okay. So if you
Yeah,
happen to come to Mumbai, we'll show you a lot of wildlife here.
I definitely would love to. At some point, I definitely want to explore, the East Asian region. I keep a lot of animals from Thailand and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's a lot of cool diversity in India that I would love to see as well.
Mhm.
So we'll make those trips happen. We'll make those trips happen for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Hayden, unless there's anything else you wanted to add, this was an absolutely fascinating episode. I loved learning more about the Indian wildlife, and I already follow you on Instagram, but I'll make sure to keep an eye on your page and see what else you're popping up with. And to everyone else that's listening, please go give Kayden a follow. Go give People of the Forest a follow. Go give what was that? Nature's Eye,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah, the nature's
Yeah,
eye.
yeah, you know what? Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Give them all the pages.
Yeah.
What should people be following? What should people be
You
keeping
know
an
what?
eye
I'm
on?
going to share this and I'm going to tell my followers to subscribe to Daffy's Roundtable.
There we
Yeah.
go. Thank you. Yes, yes, thank you. We gotta spread the love of the animal keepers
Listen,
all around the world, right? The
yeah.
wildlife lovers, and it's
Apart from
always nice to connect with people across the world.
yeah, so one thing I would like to mention is we also have
Yeah,
a
please.
YouTube channel where we sort of break down scientific concepts related to wildlife and biology, basically.
Awesome. What's the
So
name of
I
the
just share
channel?
that. People of the forest.
It's People of the Forest as well. Awesome. So I'll have all
Yeah.
those links in the show notes, in the description. Please go check it out. Give Kayden and his team a follow. Sandra's here in the background, so we'll give Sandra a shout out, but she's too shy to on camera, but that's okay. Sandra's here, which is I believe you're a partner in People of the Forest as
Yeah.
well, right? Yeah. So everybody, please give People of the Forest a follow. Support your the people doing the education in your area, and yeah, Robert, Kayden, thank you very much for coming. Man. This was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Fatty. Thank you so much.